What if I were to tell you that all along, from the very beginning, and especially right up to the end, Sephiroth has been telling us the answers to all of our questions, right in front of us the whole time, with many of the elements in Rebirth further expanding our understanding and supporting that assertion. What I'm about to present to you is something I haven't seen many people discussing, so let's break it all down. The first concept we're going to explore is the nature of the planet itself and how it actually functions. Here are some of the things we know about the planet of Gaia, as well as some associated questions for which we may not have all the answers at this time. According to Bugenhagen, planetology is, in part,
not simply the study of the cosmos and the celestial bodies that dwell in it. Rather, it is a quest to comprehend the cyclical nature of life.
That means that life and the planet operate in a
cycle of continuous convergence and divergence,
which can be studied. We also know mankind was born from its soil, and upon death, the body withers and returns to the planet. Similarly, the mind, spirit, soul comes from the life stream, and at the time of death,
our bodies may disappear when we die, but our spirits still live on.
We already know most of this stuff, but it's for purpose because he does dive a little bit deeper into it, which I do appreciate. And they told us this from the originals. Like, we come from the planet, you die, your energy, you return to the planet and become one with them. It's like a cycle that repeats over and over again.
We return to the planet, rejoin the life stream, and in time give rise to new life.
We also know the life stream is
an apt name, though it is as much a reservoir as it is a stream, being the sum of the planet's spiritual energy.
The life stream is also comprised of the accumulated memories, emotions, knowledge, hopes, and dreams of every individual who has ever lived.
It is the very essence of our star, the blood coursing through its planetary veins. And if ever that essence were to be entirely depleted,
planet runs out of energy. It and everything on it dies.
The planet needs the life stream to survive. And the planet has a will of its own.
The two go hand in hand together.
The flow of the great river that is the planet, from inception to oblivion.
And it exercises that will via the Whispers. The Whispers are
perhaps best described as arbiters of fate. They are drawn to those who attempt to alter destiny's course and ensure they do not.
Like capital D, destiny? And you're saying that that flow is somehow fixed?
So if we're destined for a bleak future, these Whispers will try to keep us on that course?
They're led by the Whisper Harbinger, which is a weapon just as much as those featured in Rebirth. The Whispers exist and function across all worlds which make up the planet. The Whispers can only be seen by those who defy destiny, or when coming into contact with someone who attempts to alter the course of destiny.
That as well, we know as well.
Are you blind?
And as introduced in Rebirth,
the planet encompasses a multitude of worlds, ever unfolding.
I find this line kind of funny because I don't know if you guys know, but there's still quite a lot of people that don't believe in multiple worlds or multiverses or multiple timelines being a thing. But Sephiroth full on kind of like tells us that the most Sephiroth way possible. The planet encompasses a multitude of worlds ever unfolding. I don't know what else to tell you there.
Worlds, ever unfolding. Some quickly perish, while others endure. Yet even the most resilient worlds are doomed to fade.
This new and mysterious concept of multiple worlds was fascinating for open-minded players who wanted the Final Fantasy VII they knew and loved, but more significantly expanded. Personally, I fell into this camp myself. As it turns out, such a prospect was concerning for players of the OG Final Fantasy VII, who would have preferred for Square Enix to have made an exact one-to-one remake of the original PS1 game with better visuals on modern hardware. In fact, this sentiment was vocalized enough that after Remake debuted in 2020, fans began to speculate whether the Whispers, and their role as custodians to maintain the sacred course of the story's events, were a meta-level reference by the developers to represent purist fans' desires for zero change to the original game.
And we know that that's not true. That's like a theory or like a thing that people were presenting, mostly like on subreddits, that the meta commentary is that like the fans, the OGs, and the purists are Whispers and trying to prevent things from changing. We know that that's not true. Devs have confirmed that was never their intent at all.
The creatives behind Remake and Rebirth obviously made another call, however, and the concept of these worlds has become canon. But when and how does the planet decide to form these new worlds? And what causes them to be created? Based on the information available in Rebirth, it appears one way these worlds are born comes through a divergence from the intended will of the planet. When choices are made which branch from the course of destiny, it appears new worlds are potentially made as represented by a rainbow effect seen in Rebirth.
But remember, that only became possible once the Whispers were not able to intervene anymore. Because like when the Whispers essentially fought tirelessly to keep things going on the straight path that it was supposed to go. But once you get rid of the Whispers, you can kind of start to do things outside of the norm, and which is why like in Remake we're seeing things just totally go in different directions than we expected. But the beautiful thing about this video that I think, and we'll get into it later, it kind of like explains why they're going in this direction in particular for a remake, if that makes sense. It will soon.
However, in order for an individual to break from the will of the planet, a world containing that person must already exist in the first place. So it's reasonable to conclude that the planet also materializes worlds and populates them with all forms of life by tapping into the spiritual energy of the lifestream, as stated by Bugenhagen previously. Additionally, one Rebirth NPC also theorizes that the planet may even create worlds from more metaphysical sources as well.
So, my parents are no longer with us, here, that is, but I believe they're still out there, on another plane. I've been reading a bunch of theories about this alternate world in the hope of going there someday. And over the course of my studies, I stumbled across a fascinating theory. It addressed the issue of what the life stream is, arguing that spiritual energy is actually a manifestation of our knowledge and memories. Like I said, it's a fascinating theory, but it's incomplete. What about our hopes and dreams? We remember those, don't we? So what if spiritual energy doesn't distinguish between our real, lived memories and the unrealized desires buried deep in our hearts? What if coming into contact with that energy allowed us to peer through the looking glass, so to speak? It's just an idea, but I hope to find the truth someday.
There's a lot of cool, interesting dialogue from the Cosmo NPCs in particular in regards to that, but one other instance that she kind of like references there that I was kind of like surprised they didn't really touch on was in the game. We obviously see that people that are in like that sleep like world, that are trapped between worlds, are moving around and interacting, or they're stuck on one other side, right? We did see one instance of that in Remake with Jesse's father, right? When we go to Jesse's father in chapter 4, we don't really hear it from her, but Biggs and Wedge kind of elaborate and say that Jesse thinks that her dad, with the Mako fume poisoning, let's say, that he got while he worked at Shinra, he is stuck in like a coma, but trapped between this world and the life stream. And we now know that that very well could be the case. We see in Rebirth all the time when Cloud is like sleeping, he can see into the other live stream, and he could see through kind of like himself that's also trapped between in like limbo in that way. They didn't actually reiterate that or showcase anything like that for Jesse's father, and I wonder if in part 3 they could. I hope they do. I think that's a great opportunity that they can like strike on, that I felt like they were going to really showcase more of in Rebirth. It's still getting to there.
Aerith seems to back up this theory by indicating that one world was,
let's just call it a dream. My dream, to be precise.
Was Aerith able to manifest the date world via the lifestream using her hopes and dreams? We also know that all inhabitants of Gaia seem to have separate existences across these disparate worlds. But how exactly does this process work when a consciousness re-enters the lifestream and helps in the creation of a new life? I think there's three main possibilities. Is a person's spiritual energy diffused and used to create new, completely different life within the same world where they died? Or is a completely new life created, but in a different world instead? Or...
I really love that you used graphics to depict this. I need to start doing this in my videos when I'm trying to explain things, but like he actually put up two instances of worlds, with one with a live stream circulating around it, Beagle Terrier, and then actually put graphics over them.
Hear me out. Are the people reborn as themselves, but in a different world? So their spiritual energy remains, but when new life is born out of the life stream, it's still them.
I think it is that, but also to consider with Ancients, right? Ancients, I feel like we see it happening with Aerith in the original game, right? When she goes to the temple, she puts her ear to the floor. She could hear the voices of the previous Ancients, the ones that died, that are still like able to communicate with her. I feel like for Ancients, it's obviously something that they can touch into and they can see, but also we see when certain Ancients are dead, they're able to still manipulate and do things from beyond that plane. Use the live stream to that benefit, is I think where he's going with that.
Sephiroth is aware this multitude of world exists and is, at least in some manner, connected as one conscious being across the worlds. He also appears to exist outside of any specific world at the edge of creation as well. Sephiroth also uses the black robes to physically manifest himself and exert control and manipulation of people and events. Based on Aerith's uncanny knowledge of events during Remake,
He's my bodyguard. And a soldier. Pretty cool, huh?
Huh?
I guessed. From the sword.
and certain sequences of Rebirth,
Whatever happens, don't blame yourself.
is there enough evidence to deduce that Aerith also possesses some power which is not contained to singular worlds?
Yeah. I think the first time we actually see that is when she comes into the dream resolution scene in Remake, where she's outside of her house and Cloud is like interacting with her. I don't think that that's the Aerith that we are currently in that moment trying to rescue from the Shinra building. I think that's absolutely like the Aerith that kind of like in that dream world that's roaming around. Everybody dubs and jokingly says like the OG Aerith. Yeah, and Remake Aerith literally has the light stream particle circling her as well. I think Sephiroth is obviously ahead of her in how far he can manipulate things and still control and manifest his will. Whereas she kind of like halfway through kind of recognizes that this is happening and is actively doing things and obviously giving herself memories or realizing plot points of later parts of the story earlier in Remake than she's supposed to. We've seen that constantly being mentioned, showcased to us. There's so many things that Aerith does that Sephiroth is already way ahead of her in doing. And I think she realizes that she can kind of manipulate and do things in the same way, if not the opposite of what he's trying to do.
What do you mean?
All made whole forever.
There's no such thing as forever.
We also learned that worlds that are fading or about to expire have a rift which becomes visible in the sky. But what's the nature of this rift and what does it exactly represent? If we take a look at Zack's experiences, a rift was not present in the skies of the Terrier world during the opening prologue of Rebirth. Zack only first sees it after being told by Elmyra that people are saying the world is ending. But Elmyra and the other NPCs of the Sector 5 slums seem to have known about the rift for a while, and they most certainly wouldn't have grappled with why it was in the sky or what it meant in the short time it took for Zack to move Aerith and hide away from Shinra until Elmyra could come to them. So the reasonable conclusion is Zack couldn't have seen it at first, but then only could after Elmyra mentioned it and recent events caused Zack to feel as though the world or his world could be ending.
It's a very
Are
good
these
point.
rifts only visible
Because
to...
early when I first played this like prologue area with Zach, I was rolling the camera around trying to like look up and see, and obviously it was cloudy or more cloudier at that point, but it was meant to be revealed at a later time.
people who have accepted that the world is going to end? And is that why only Cloud can see the one at the end of Rebirth, but the rest of the party cannot?
Don't look up.
Well, now I gotta look.
Fine, but don't let it get to you.
Don't let what get to me?
What a crazy guy.
Now that we've discussed at least 3 potential ways the various worlds might be created, how are these different versions of Gaia connected via the lifestream? Do they share one lifestream? Does each world have their own measure of the lifestream? And how or why do worlds endure or fade at different paces? Is the length of their survival based on their own shares of the lifestream? While we don't have enough information to make a concrete determination one way or the other about how the worlds exist and interact with the lifestream, we do know a few details with which we can establish a small foundation to build upon in Part 3. All worlds are connected via the lifestream, as demonstrated by Cloud seeing through to Aerith's dream world while he was
right
sleeping.
here.
Or when Aerith could feel Zack's hand.
Yes, another good point.
We do know that it is possible for an individual world's portion of the lifestream to dry up, as we saw that happen at the empty reactor in Rebirth.
Seems it's all out of Mako. Pump's still sucking away, but the only thing it's pulling up is dirt.
Meaning?
That the life stream's bone dry. Bomb one reactor, bomb them all. Planet's done either way.
We also know worlds can be united or parted through external influence which doesn't come from the planet, such as when Sephiroth parted Cloud and Zack at the end of Rebirth, or when Sephiroth sent Zack between worlds at the church.
Yes. Poor Zack.
And we know worlds can also be merged into one another via external intervention.
Look at that.
Which seems at least in
Freshly merged and ready. Sephiroth is salivating at that.
part what Sephiroth is up to. What effect does this merger have on the inhabitants of those worlds? And how does this type of merger impact the lifestream?
Listen.
We're gonna get into some really sick stuff soon.
Sephiroth also clued us into the idea that something feeds off of negative energy such as despair and grief. Either Sephiroth himself, Jenova, or the unification of these worlds. But why is Sephiroth trying to feed the planet with negative energy?
War can put things right, beget anger, desolation, hatred, and in its wake, new unity. A people rejuvenated, and a planet once more made whole.
Of course, made whole. And that's Sephiroth's whole endgame, is ultimately combining, creating, put this planet back into being whole. And there's a purpose for it that I really like.
And as a last question around this concept of a multitude of worlds, did they always exist and the planet has always been made up of them? I want to dig into that point specifically next, as I believe all of the lore and information we've already reviewed from Remake and Rebirth can aid us in not only understanding the mechanics of how the planet and its worlds function, but provide us with a fairly reasonable answer to this question and its greater impact on what's to come. But before we can start putting these pieces together, there's one more topic which looms over everything in Remake and Rebirth, which must be discussed.
Cute.
There's still so much we don't know about Jenova. Obviously, the devs have been intentional about holding back key pieces of information to be revealed in Part 3. But even if we look across the entire compilation of Final Fantasy VII, from the original game to now, So much of the lore around Jenova has just never been explored. And while we don't have anywhere close to a puzzle box to know what the picture will ultimately resemble,
my favorite parts,
Remake and Rebirth presented us with just enough pieces that we can begin fitting them together and get a rough idea of what parts of it will look like. Let's review what we do know. Jenova came from space and crashed on Gaia roughly 2,000 years ago.
Long ago, a wound marred the northern lands.
The specimen found in strata dating back 2,000 years smiled with what could only be described as ethereal grace. She needed a name, and so I dubbed her Jenova.
This raises the question of how Jenova actually came to Gaia. Did Jenova arrive via the Gi's homeworld that it had already consumed? When Gi Natak is narrating during the final battle of the Gi village, he describes the end of their homeworld.
With the passing of eons, the star we called home began to wane, until at last it was subsumed by your own. The earth shook, seas boiled, skies shattered, and time stopped. Few of my people survived the chaos and calamity. Those who did began a new life here. But to the planet, we were not welcome, not in life nor in death.
Jenova is referred to as the Calamity from the Skies and is a destroyer of worlds. And according to Bugenhagen, the Gi arrived many millennia ago. Is it possible that these two are connected? One additional possibility is that the Gi summoned Jenova via the black materia before the Cetra could steal it. Gi Natak stated,
"From the planet, we claim the greatest of materia, a most sacred treasure, and imbued it with our desire for freedom. After an eternity, the materia began to stir, and thus did we rejoice, knowing that salvation was within our grasp."
Perhaps as the Cetra locked away the black materia, Jenova arrived as a result. Or is there some other explanation entirely for Jenova's arrival?
The whole reason why Jenova is here, well, the Gi were here before. Their planet was consumed by the Earth, and they're here now. They don't want to be here. They can't die. They can't return to the live stream, as Gi Natak has complained about before. They use the black materia to summon the power in order to get rid of their existence, and in doing so, accidentally, unintentionally, maybe not knowingly, summon Jenova.
Jenova also possesses an ability to mimic the dead.
Though in time we triumphed over the calamity visited upon us by the stars, tragedy would nevertheless be our ultimate reward. For the children of men feared us. For the children of man envied us. Perhaps their enmity was seeded by
I love
our
these fucking
celestial
scenes so much.
adversary. None can say. A deceiver that stole the faces of the dead, of mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers lost. With their voices did it sow the seeds of discord among our people, among the children of man.
The Cetra were the original stewards of the planet prior to Jenova's arrival, and they could communicate with the planet to understand its desires and needs. And we know the Cetra stood against Jenova, just as they did the Gi.
It has ever been our sacred duty to protect our planet against any who would threaten it.
And shows them just knocking down the Gi.
They who came from without were one such threat.
Lastly, we know that Jenova was successful in basically killing off pretty much almost all of the Cetra.
Alas, the ancients themselves are long gone. 2,000 years ago, a meteor brought an end to their civilization.
Regardless, we had been forsaken by fate, abandoned to unquenchable anger and unbearable grief, condemned and driven forth, powerless, to forestall the coming of our end. For the planet did we lay down our lives in battle, and in death returned to her embrace.
It's kind of all the Cetra's fault in a way.
Before the end, did the ancients find their promised land? Even now, we have only to wonder.
However, since Jenova did not originate from the Lifestream, it couldn't rejoin the Lifestream, just as the Gi could not.
Those not born of the Lifestream can never join its flow. One cannot return to that from which one did not arise.
Yet our adversary did not. Could not.
Yeah.
Thus did it fall into a deep slumber.
And they reiterate that point right there.
Of its sleep, it was given the name Jenova.
Jenova.
Now that we've explored the nature of the planet, its multiple concurrent realities, the Lifestream which bridges them, and the external entity known as Jenova, I'll start to fit some of the puzzle pieces together in a manner which makes the most sense to me.
Wait for it.
And to do so, I'll start where we left off a moment ago and work backwards. How exactly did the Cetra manage to stop Jenova? Jenova was a life force from beyond the Cetra's own world. Its nature was unknown to the ancients, and Jenova possessed the power to adjust its appearance, speech, and behaviors to imitate other creatures. We know from the scene in the Temple of the Ancients that the Cetra teamed up with humans to fight Jenova. From what we've learned, the Cetra essentially went almost extinct, and the only result their alliance with the humans could muster was to force Jenova into a form of stalemate and stasis.
Yes.
But how was this achieved? Perhaps the Cetra knew enough about the planet to be aware of its multiple worlds, and how the Lifestream connects them. But even if they did, how would that help them in their battle to subdue Jenova? Here's the reasonable explanation to me, and the case I'll make for how the blurry picture on the puzzle box looks to me by the end of Rebirth. The planet was once whole, and served as the home of the ancients, until the arrival of Jenova. Recognizing they were unable to beat this alien entity, and with the survival of the planet they loved at stake, they were forced to split their home into multiple realities. The first rainbowed action, perhaps? The Cetra used their knowledge of the Lifestream to divide the planet into a multitude of worlds, and by doing so, Jenova, who was unable to be absorbed into the Lifestream, was instead pulled apart and splintered across all those worlds.
This shit right here is what he told me, and it blew my fucking mind. I was like, wait a minute. That would make sense. If you can't kill it, you can't get rid of it because it will not go back to its Lifestream. It's not from there. How do you get rid of it? You can only subdue it. And how do you subdue it? By trapping it and fragmenting it off in a way that it can not come back together, right? And now this kind of shows a little bit more as to why Sephiroth is so obsessed with combining the worlds together. Reunion, bringing them all together.
Those worlds. It's reasonable to conclude that the Cetra, having immense and intimate knowledge of the planet and the Lifestream, might have been the first to break the will of the planet, with the understanding that it would split the planet into multiple worlds, and that all life of the planet would continue via the Lifestream. However, Jenova would be unable to wreak havoc upon the planet in its disassembled state. It's also fairly plausible that the Whispers were created by the planet as a reaction to the Cetra's defiance and subsequent disappearance. Without the Cetra to care for it, the planet may have formed its first weapon, the Whisper Harbinger, as a means of ensuring its own will is followed. Based on this theory, the events which play out on an individual world are unable to bring about a final resolution for Sephiroth, Jenova, or the Gi, because those events are contained to that single reality. As such, it stands to reason that in order for anything to truly affect these aspects of our story, the disparate worlds of the planet would need to come back together, a homecoming of sorts. And since we have yet to see anything across all of the worlds of Final Fantasy VII that resembles the actual Promised Land...
This isn't the Promised Land. I mean, let's look around. It can't be. Not with all this sadness and anger.
This place. Is it the Promised Land?
I'm sorry, but I don't think it is.
Of course. Figures.
And that's crazy to me because like we never see the Promised Land. We never are given in the OG remake, and up until now we never really see what the Promised Land actually is. And it's not necessarily a place that you can go to, it's the state of which the planet once was before it was split up. That potentially could be the Promised Land that they've been referring to this whole entire time.
It's also logical that the scriptures passed down by the ancients tell of a time when the planet they loved would once again be made whole, a thought which, to them, probably seemed like a distant promise to return the land back to how it was before.
Unto her promised land shall we one day return. By her loving grace and providence, may we take our place in paradise.
Ironically, this statement here could also apply to Jenova, as like once the Promised Land, all the world is like fully put back together, can Jenova truly be whole and be its true form? We always see Jenova's got like 20 different forms at this point throughout all the games.
If this is truly how the puzzle fits together, it appears Sephiroth may have figured out the box's cover art as well, with his words and actions backing it up. Let's evaluate what we know about Sephiroth and his master plan based on what has been presented in Remake and Rebirth. Cloud believes
he wants to finish what he started. He wants to reclaim his birthright and rule over the planet with Jenova at his side.
Aerith seems to think he's going against the way that things should be.
And you're wrong. Everything about you is wrong.
There's no such thing as forever.
No. You're wrong.
We also know Sephiroth doesn't want Cloud to die. Rather, he wants Cloud's help.
I have a favor to ask. Our beloved planet is dying. Slowly, silently, painfully. Can you bear to see the planet suffer? Cloud. That which binds us together would be no more, and I would be loath to live in such a world, which is why I must ask you this one favor. Don't worry, it's a simple thing.
Hey, how's it going, Royal Pair?
Cloud. Run away. You have to leave. You have to live. Careful now. That which lies ahead.
Yeah, so Jenova
does not yet exist.
It's not known exactly how Jenova decided to come to the planet, but what they're theorizing is that when the Gi, it's possible, not necessarily the main point of this like entire theory, but it's possible that the Gi, in using the black materia to try to summon their end, and the Cetra stopping them and trapping the black materia, it made Jenova, which is a planet infector, if you can kind of think of her that way. She's like a virus infecting planets and consuming them from the worst possible ways and killing them from the inside. That is potentially how she could have came. And obviously she came in as a meteor, not a meteor, but like the calamity from the skies came in and battled with the Cetra for many, many years and ultimately wiped them out. Yeah, the meteor. Jenova is obviously traveling through space. Meteors are in space. The meteor that they tried to summon with the black materia to end them, and by ending them, maybe it needed to destroy the planet as well, now that I'm thinking about it, because the live stream surviving, the Gi cannot be absorbed into it. That could be another angle that they go about it, but that meteor coming down potentially could have had Jenova on it, not knowingly.
Will become a part of it one day, but I will not end. Nor will I have you end. Cloud, lend me your strength. Let us defy destiny together.
Leave me out of it.
Ooh, good transition.
How very stubborn of you. Perhaps you need a little push.
Sephiroth wants the black materia, presumably to call forth a meteor capable of causing catastrophic damage to the planet, as seen in Shinra's visual entertainment hall during Remake and also shown in Rebirth. Guy Natak also all but confirmed this function of the black materia when he begged the party to return it to the Guy.
Our ultimate salvation is cessation. It is nothingness. Our wish is not to exist.
That is such a hard bar.
To no longer exist.
It's hard to feel at ease around folks whose only desire is death. And if the planet won't let them have it, well, who's to say they won't let the planet have it?
We ask that you retrieve it. The black materia, key to our oblivion.
I fucking love this new edition, man. It's just like, it's obviously is a fan favorite. Everybody loved the way that the Gi tribe is so much more realized, more defined in this. And ultimately in chapter 10, I forgot what chapter Cosmic Canyon was. I was pissed when Gi Natak showed up and ruined the Seto moment, but ultimately it ended up enhancing the entire overarching plot and making me even more intrigued than I already was. Because now the Gi, who was just an enemy that you fought in one section in the original game, and then you just completely forgot about them going forward. I don't even recall them being mentioned again later on. They're now as big as the Cetra. That's a lot of depth.
Please, it alone can liberate us from this endless dream.
Sephiroth appears to have needed the party to help destroy the Whisper Harbinger and break the planet's hold over Destiny so he could take control of the Whispers himself. Perhaps to unbind those who were born on Gaia from the planet and the lifestream and maybe bind them to whatever Sephiroth wants to create?
They're not bound to the planet, and so she rejects them.
Because you have to come from the life stream to return to it.
All born are bound to her. Should this world be unmade, so too shall her children.
I love the way John edits this, by the way. It's like, it's not just him presenting and saying these things like I typically do in my videos. He's actually taking audio cues and specific moments from the story that actively say it out loud that sometimes we might forget about, because when you're playing the game, you're not really locked in and focused on every single detail, not all the time. He goes back to the original moments of when they say these things and further let them elaborate more onto it and reinforce that idea. I think that's a really good editing trick, John. Not editing trick, but like a way to emphasize exactly what it is, your point that you're trying to make.
So despite his desire to obtain the black materia and summon Meteor, outright destruction of the planet doesn't seem to be Sephiroth's actual intent. However, when Sephiroth grabbed the black materia in Rebirth, he called it
the key, which grants access to the true counterpart hidden between worlds.
And we know Sephiroth didn't want the remake Beagle world to have a white materia, because when Cloud still possessed it after his time spent in Aerith's dream world, Sephiroth stated,
"That doesn't belong here. Very poor form."
While we don't have enough information by the end of Rebirth to understand why,
Fighting
the
dirty.
existence of a white materia is clearly not something Sephiroth wants. And perhaps he even formed the Singularity at the end of Remake, knowing Aerith would need to use or empty her white materia to modify it as she did. Thus,
by the way, since 2020, I have been saying that Aerith used the white materia here in this moment, and then when we finally saw the empty materia in like the trailers and stuff, but we couldn't pinpoint exactly at what point of the story that was exactly going to be, further was like made a point here that like she absolutely used Holy to do this. Whether she did it on purpose or unknowingly, I don't know, but it's clearly where the juice from inside Holy went.
His way of getting rid of it? And the concept of a reunion has been referenced many, many times.
A touching reunion. For the future is bright. We are to bear witness to the reunion of worlds.
Reunion.
And based on some very specific lines of dialogue during the Temple of the Ancients, it seems extremely plausible Sephiroth is trying to reunite all of the worlds which make up the planet with the intention of making it and Jenova whole.
Yet I shall remain. I, son of Jenova, will at last claim my birthright. My dominion shall reach into infinity. It shall encompass worlds unbound by fate and histories unwritten. My fragmented mother, these errant worlds, all shall be one again.
That segment right there, my fragmented mother, if there wasn't any other way to kind of like give this theory or this idea that they split the worlds in order to split Jenova multiple times so she can't truly die, but she can't also reveal her full power because she's split amongst, like, herself has been I don't know, like what, 8 or 9 different worlds fragmented. I mean, that's a major cue right there, and he obviously wants to make them all one again, just like these worlds are fragmented. Put them all together either by eliminating them or consuming them. I don't know which route he's exactly going with it, but it's all about making them all one again, whole again. Just because, for whatever purpose, he needs for Jenova to be whole again, maybe full power. Maybe we've never seen Jenova truly at full power, even from the OG. Maybe the worlds were fragmented from there. I don't know.
These errant worlds.
There is the idea that when Sephiroth, at the end of Remake, sliced the hole in fabric of, like, let's say Destiny, and then Aerith purified it with the holy materia, that's where multiple worlds started to exist and come into play. But we did see the Whispers were already roaming around before then. So at what point, maybe that was the deciding factor, or was it always, is the original FF7 like another, like, not Beagle universe, not Stamp universe, but like a Bulldog universe? You know what I mean? Like, it's where does it originate from? Was this always a thing that the devs could have been like cooking up or planning as like a backup thing that they can come back and establish more depth to?
All shall
that would be silly.
one
I don't think
again.
it is, though.
The reunion.
All made whole forever.
There's no such thing as forever.
Ah, but there will be.
This statement seems to tie back to what Sephiroth said in the Nibelheim reactor way back at the beginning of Rebirth.
Together we will reclaim our world.
It also does, though, chat, it also does give further validity and reason to why remake the game in this way. Why not just do a one-for-one remake? Why remake it, but also kind of make it a sequel in a multiverse and multiple worlds all at once? Instead of just remaking it, let's make it fun, where that stuff from the OG already happened. That does exist, and Sephiroth is aware of that, and some party members may become aware of that. Remake it in this way to kind of not do the same thing over and over again and try to add something new to it.
And I know exactly how we can do that. The Promised Land.
Again, I think Promised Land is key to it all being together.
Sad, Mother. Because I'm here for you. Now and forever.
Maybe the Promised Land is not just a specific location in one world as Shinra thought, but instead only exists when all of the worlds are united as one?
That's that shit right there.
Every move appears to be leading to a reunification of the worlds of the planet and Jenova, as foretold by the Cetra in the Temple of the Ancients.
It's upon us. The reunion, when worlds merge. When spite and sorrow are harvested to feed the planet.
Heed well our warning of that which is to come. The reunion. When our adversaries' scattered malignancy shall converge to plague the planet once more.
And while
when our adversaries
Wait.
Are harvested to feed the planet.
Heed well our warning of that which is to come. The reunion. When our adversaries' scattered malignancy shall converge to plague the planet once more.
That right there kind of just further reinforces this idea, is that the Cetra is aware that Jenova has been scattered and subdued in that way, and that when the reunion comes back to put her malignancy, put herself back together, is when she will be able to plague the planet once more.
Malignancy shall converge to
The Cetra is aware of this. This is an actual thing in their temple that they're telling us.
plague the planet once more.
And while we've gone over most of the evidence to that effect, there's still one disturbing part of Sephiroth's plan that I still want to address. From what we've seen across multiple worlds, it appears Sephiroth is intentionally hunting Aerith in every world with the intent to kill her. He even confirms as much to Aerith herself, twice.
Yes, he does.
So this is where you've been hiding, in a world that has accepted its fate. Just as you must.
How can you want this, Sephiroth? How can you want an eternity of loneliness?
Be gone. Your part is played.
With this context, when Aerith runs at the introduction of Sephiroth's theme during the opening of the remake, a whole new meaning is added to that moment.
No, I'm getting chills, bro. Goddamn.
But why would Sephiroth go through such effort? Besides being extremely vindictive, what reason could he have to actively hunt her down? I believe we have a couple of clues to Sephiroth's intent. As we reviewed earlier, after people die and enter the lifestream, it takes a while before their energy in the lifestream then gives rise to new life.
In time, yeah.
Sephiroth's endgame has something to do with the creation of a forever, in which the cycle of life and death would be disrupted.
Ah. But there will be. Our world will become a part of it. One day. But I will not end.
That's not where he's stopping.
Have you end.
Sephiroth has been unifying worlds, resulting in the screams of the planet.
Look at that, chat. Did you notice that, by the way? The way that these two seemingly universes, worlds, combine in that moment, and we see the screams emit from that point.
Listen to the planet, Cloud. To her ecstatic cries, her rapture.
Screaming! It's screaming!
What you heard
That
just
shit hurts.
now were the voices of the planet. Those born into this world, who lived and who died, who returned. They're howling in pain.
Because of him, Sephiroth?
Their words, they don't reach him. All these moments and memories, precious and fleeting, they're like rain rolling off his back. And when they're gone, he won't cry or shout or anything.
From this, we can deduce that if people have died and their essence or consciousness is in the lifestream at the time those worlds are unified, they may cease to exist. And on the flip side of that coin, what would happen to the multiple versions of everyone who are alive and not in the lifestream at the time Sephiroth successfully executes the final unification? Do all of the worlds converge and suddenly there's a single version of every living person who ends up in one unified world and live together? But if Sephiroth really is trying to create an eternity where no one dies, it's entirely possible Sephiroth is trying to eliminate Aerith from all worlds prior to executing the final unification, leaving her spiritual energy in the limbo period across all worlds so she wouldn't be present as the remaining Cetra to rival him in the new unified forever Sephiroth is creating.
I love that fucking point right there so much, because forever, ever since this game came out and things were obviously different but sort of happening in the same way, I kept thinking to myself, is Sephiroth stupid? Why does he still want to kill Aerith? What's the point of killing Aerith if her death ultimately at the very end of it is the reason why he lost in the first place? Because she was able to she did cast Holy, but it wasn't enough. She had to use the live stream at the end of FF7 OG in order to stop the meteor ultimately. And I'm like thinking to myself, it just doesn't make sense to me why Sephiroth would want to kill her again, knowing that this could be the situation that befalls his plan once more. And that point right there explained it pretty well. Is it like, you kill out Aerith in all of these worlds, all of her existence in this way, and then reunionize the planet. That's a good point right there. Her death is his biggest fault. It's his downfall. It's the reason why he fails. I always thought that, and I just thought it was stupid when I would see new elements are being introduced to Remake, but Sephiroth continues to do the same exact things and let things play out exactly the same. It just didn't make sense to me. Like, what are you doing, bro? It was just weird, but there had to have been an ulterior motive or a whole plan for that. And they kind of, like, this idea right here introduced kind of helps us with that.
But if Sephiroth really is trying to create an eternity where no one dies, it's entirely possible Sephiroth is trying to eliminate Aerith from all worlds prior to executing the final unification, leaving her spiritual energy in the limbo period across all worlds so she wouldn't be present as the remaining Cetra to rival him in the new unified forever Sephiroth is creating.
He has to be stopped by a Cetra.
He has to find a way to lock her off from the live stream.
And I'm the last.
She can't just die. She has to be completely locked off from the live stream.
So there you have it. We set out to break down the lore and mysteries found thus far in the Final Fantasy VII Remake project, helping us all who were feeling exactly like Zack.
What in the hell is going on?
And make the case for how these puzzle pieces fit together in the way that makes the most sense. If you're with me and everything in this video makes a lot of sense to you too, let us know in the comments. Conversely, if you disagree or have your own takeaways from Remake and Rebirth, let us know as well and share your own thoughts with us. And for those fans who have only played the Remake series and are trying to remain spoiler-free until Part 3, I did my best to record this video without using any of the other information found in the Final Fantasy VII compilation, but I would just recommend being super careful when diving into the comments, just in case folks share more info than what was found in Remake and Rebirth.
Nah, John, we're diving all in.
BltzZ for helping me to give shape to the ideas bouncing around in my head.
Major shoutouts to John Q Gamer, guys. If you haven't yet, this guy cooked, and I love this idea. He's a really good friend of mine. Really well put together video, bro. This is the video. I'm linking it right now in the chat. I also have it pinned in both comments. You guys, please check it out. Support this man. Me and him will be working together on a few things as well, bringing more content and cool ideas. He's not done here. He has a lot more that we've been discussing, and I can't wait to fully make that realize in a video. Consider subscribing, because we have plenty more of where that came from. That's another good idea too, is like the empty holy materia. What could be the purpose of that? It's possible that empty holy materia could be, quote unquote, think about it this way, another world that Sephiroth is unaware of that exists, another world that Aerith could be hiding within. Some Men in Black shit. You know, the ending of Men in Black when the aliens are playing with the marble, and that's like our entire like universe stashed together in one. Aerith created a multitude of multiverses for Cloud to like pull out at the last minute to allow her to exist temporarily, to invoke the live stream to stop Meteor or stop his plans again. Man, seriously, major shout outs to John for that, guys. You guys go ahead, give that man a follow, check out that video on your own without me pausing and interrupting it every now and then. But some really great points are really brought up in there, dude. I love the fact that there's an idea and purpose to why Sephiroth wants to do two things. Like, we all don't know why he wants to unify the world. He's been telling us it the entire time. His fragmented mother can come back to being in one. The Cetra knowingly split the worlds on purpose to separate Jenova, to keep her from reforming back together, or not dying, but like also like not living fully, like her full power, block her off in that way. And then he also says, like, that other point at the end, it's very possible that Sephiroth could very well be trying to like eliminate all these different Arets to prevent it from being a possibility where she can influence things in this world. Yeah, no problem, guys. I mean, all major credits, shout outs to John for that. Really wonderful 40 minutes. The first 15-ish minutes I'd say 14 minutes. The first 14 minutes is all about like reiterating, re-emphasizing, and reminding us of these things that exist, questions that we still might have, and then in a very proper way goes down and breaks down every single one of those points again and elaborates more on it, which I do appreciate. I like the way that was done. Let's go back to the Jenova splitting aspect too. And it's like the craziest thing to me with this whole thing is that the Cetra right here. It's not like the Cetra heard Sephiroth say this and went ahead and they re-recorded this for the party to hear it. This is something that was put into this fucking temple from years and years ago, well beyond any of these characters existed in Sephiroth himself. The reunion is a concept that they already knew about, that they are trying to warn people about this potentially happening. A reunion where
when our adversaries' scattered malignancy shall converge to plague the planet once more.
That's such an important part that like I just completely walked by. I'm pretty sure most of you guys, when you were playing this part, especially with how long and crazy chapter 13 can be in this game, a key moment right there, because this says a lot. It's just, they're aware that she is scattered. They're potentially the people that did the scattering, and there is an idea that Sephiroth has. I don't know if Sephiroth might have learned about it from the sacred texts or whatever, but like Sephiroth obviously has planet knowledge too, and ancient knowledge to a certain extent, so he would know and find out what the reunion is, which is why he's so often saying it and quoting it non-stop. Reunion. This shit gives me life, specifically because, and again, I'll say it again, I just never understood why Sephiroth is just doing the same thing again. It made no sense to me, but putting it in this perspective as the potential way that he could be going about it, as the game has kind of like alluded to many of those things occurring, not specifically saying it's going to happen to her, but they're talking about it happen to other people that have died from those worlds that are being unified from the live stream. That actually makes me feel a little bit more uneasy and uncomfortable about Sephiroth getting closer and closer to that, because I wasn't feeling that before. I wasn't feeling like, oh, okay, like, you know, yeah, he did the thing, but she's still going to be able to do the thing, right? But that very well could be Sephiroth's whole idea to eliminate her from being a factor in any way. Sure, we thought Aerith was playing chess the whole time, but it was actually Sephiroth. That shit goes hard, man. Like, it's just like, it's cool to see. This is the scary aspect of like Sephiroth being able to succeed and go through with this. For a long time, it just like, I felt no attachment whatsoever to what Sephiroth was doing, and now more so I do. Weirdly enough, I don't know how to explain it to you guys. It just didn't feel threatening before. I didn't feel really threatened by him, because it just felt like, okay, you're just making the same mistake, buddy. See you in part 3 when we win. But now it's like, oh fuck. Shit, that's pretty fucked up. And he's kind of like winning in a way right now. And also like the Cetra potentially being the who's to blame, chat? Who's to blame? The Gi tribe or the Cetra? You know, because like if the Gi tribe were able to obtain the black materia and were trying to use it to kill themselves, I don't think they were going to use it to outright kill themselves. I personally think the Cetra were gonna, the Gi were trying to use the black materia to blow up the fucking planet. Whatever is on the other end of it, whether it be a meteor or an alien rock eater, come down to this earth and put us out of our misery. We don't want to be here anymore. We don't care about the other people that are here. If they die in the process, so be it. They ended up getting like defeated, but not killed, obviously, because they can't die, by the Cetra. And the Cetra, in doing this, I don't know if that already meant Jenova was going to come anyways. She was going to be their salvation that they didn't know about. Kind of giving the remake purpose. Like, this is why FF7 Remake, quotes remake, why the remake exists. Sort of giving more reason for Sephiroth doing the Sephiroth things that he's doing. Highly recommend you check it out, man. But this is the fun shit that I like about it. I like the ideas of this and like seeing different angles and talking with you guys amongst it. And by the way, did you guys get this man to over 100 subs? He's out of yo. I highly recommend, if you guys haven't yet, please check out his video. I know I keep talking about it, but I'm super proud of this dude. He went and he had this idea, told me about the idea, and I told him it was an amazing one, that he needs to do it on his own channel. I am on board with this.